So before this video starts, I just wanted to get a little bit of context to my viewers. What you're about to see is going to be a simulated presentation um, from me, assuming the role of a Chief Informational Security Officer, or a CISO for short. I will go in depth about our incident response plan on a made-up attack and a made-up scenario. But yeah, sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy.
Hello, my name is Aaron Clegg. I am the new Chief Information Security Officer, or CISO, here at ACME organization. I understand that we have been subject to a breach recently, and I'm here to help in any way that I can. First of all, since we know there was a breach, we have to immediately begin with our incident response plan. Now, what is our incident response plan? So, with any security breach, we need to take immediate action. We will face it head on to eliminate the threat and resecure our network and systems. As a CISO, it is my job to ensure that our organization's assets are protected. So in order for us to address this breach, we should be able to reference our incident response plan. So let's talk with Reggie, the head of our incident response team. Hey Reggie, what is our incident response plan? Hey, thanks Aaron. Well, our typical incident response plan would normally include 6 steps. Step 1, preparation, which in this case is not needed, as we already have discovered the breach. But this step is important because it's used to define security policies and procedures, perform risk assessments, and to determine weaknesses and prioritize assets. This also includes defining roles and responsibilities, and is always changing as technology changes and new and better security policies and procedures are created. Which leads us directly into step 2, threat identification. Now this step is pretty self-explanatory. We are identifying the threat. In this case, that still needs to be done. So we can identify the threat by reviewing our alerts and activity, looking into our team's findings to locate the source of the breach, the type of attack, and the attacker's motive or goal. Now, this step is also where it would be appropriate to notify stakeholders and communicate your next steps. Which leads us into step 3, threat containment. Now, once we have identified the threat, we can move to this phase, how to contain the threat. Since a breach is serious business, we want to be able to resolve the threat as quickly as possible because, as we all know, the longer an adversary has access to our system, the more damage they can do. This is when we would get our security team involved to rapidly isolate applications or systems that are under attack. That way it helps to prevent the attackers from accessing any other parts of our organization. This leads us to step 4, threat elimination. So once we have contained the threat and isolated it, we have to remove the attacker and any malware from the affected systems and resources. Now, this could potentially involve taking systems online, so be aware that downtime may be inevitable. Continual communication with stakeholders is also crucial in this step to keep them up to date on the process. So step 5, recovery and restoration. The 5th phase of this plan can take a while. So once we have determined that the threat is gone and eliminated, we can restore the system, recover lost data from backups, and continue to monitor the affected areas to further ensure that the attacker does not return. Which leads us to our final and 6th step, feedback and refinement. Now, once the incident is resolved, our incident response team, me, will then take the steps to determine what happened and how we can improve if this were to occur again. This way we can bolster our defenses and improve our chances of preventing a threat. So now I've covered that, I'll throw it back over to Aaron and he can finish us off here. Hey, thank you Reggie for that informative breakdown. So now that we have the outline of our plan, let's get to work. We will first need to look into finding the location of the breach and determining what attack we are being subject to. We need to check our system alerts to determine what is going on. Now, it seems like our network performance is slow and we can't load any websites. It also seems like some of our users are suffering loss of connectivity. Well, Based off of that, we can determine that we are being subject to a DDoS attack or a denial of service attack. We need to notify our stakeholders so they are aware of the breach, and we will educate them on the next steps. Now let's work on containing this attack. First of all, we need to start off with notifying our internet service provider and see if they have any mitigation measures that they can take to help with eliminating the impact of this attack. While they look into that, we can gather evidence about the attack. Let's look for timestamps, IP addresses, packet captures, and any logs or alerts generated by our infrastructure. Now that we have our evidence gathered, let's start eliminating the threat. We need to implement traffic filtering. So that means configuring our network infrastructure, firewalls, and our intrusion prevention systems to help filter out the malicious traffic. We will also use rate limitation in conjunction with access control lists to further block traffic from suspicious IP addresses or specific protocols used in this DDoS attack. We can also temporarily scale up our bandwidth to absorb the traffic by adding on additional servers. This way we can minimize the impact of this attack in order to stop it. So now that we've mitigated the impact, we need to make sure our servers and web servers are secure. We can use the data that we acquired earlier to block the IP addresses from being able to ping our network, to restore functionality to our websites and our network as well. Not only that, but now that we've blocked those IP addresses, we can now start to recover a little bit more and return back to our original system. That means restoring our data backups. So it is important to have backups, obviously, in cases like this where you may have a data breach. So that way you can return back to when you didn't have a breach or you didn't have a problem. Whew, that was a lot. And now that this crisis is resolved, we can breathe a little bit. But how can we learn from this? So now that we've fixed the issue, we can focus on a post-incident analysis. So we can understand attack vectors, and we will make updates to our incident response plan accordingly. So in order to recover and refine a little bit, we will start by implementing a DDoS detection system to harden our system and network security. That way we are secure from potentially any other DDoS attacks that might occur. And this time, we know what to look out for. So this concludes our incident response meeting. Thank you for tuning in. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I will try and answer them to the best of my ability. I'll also leave my references below if you're interested in looking at the resources that I used to come up with this presentation. Thank you. Y'all have a great day.